Hello viewers, welcome to program State Affairs with Usama Khurshid. As I have discussed last week that Mr. Trump has backed out from the Iran nuclear deal, but eventually he has not given any plan B. So the critics over the United States of America and all over the world was criticizing the Trump's administration that was the plan B against the nuclear deal, because if you are pulling out the Iran nuclear deal, what's next? So let me tell you that the US administration is already working on the plan B. The Secretary of the State Mike Pompeo will unveil the administration's plan B for countering Iran tonight. This is an idea that some critics call a pipe dream, while others question whether the administration is coming clean on its goal for the country. Now let me tell you that the plan administration official says that it is to assemble a global coalition to pressure Iran into a negotiations on a new security architecture that goes beyond its nuclear address. Now, Pompeo's address, let me tell you that his first major foreign policy speech as secretary will take place tonight, and he will tell that what actually the plan B and what have the Trump administration goals regarding this whole thing. In totality, he will give the policy briefing about the Iran's nuclear deal. Now let me tell you that this involves, for me, this plan B will, I'm very optimistic, and according to the US foreign policy contours, now this deal will involve a range of things around Iran's nuclear program, the Iran's nuclear proliferation missiles and the missile technology. Now the Iran supports for terrorists and its aggressive and violent activities that fuel wars in Syria and Yemen, because these are the basic lines on which the US administration will try to play on it. But many former officials, foreign diplomats and analysts are very skeptical both of the chances that a broader pact can come together, and they are of the view that administration's interest in diplomacy with Iran. So a pipe dream, a bigger, better deal is said to be told by that it will work against the Iran nuclear deal, because the Iran nuclear deal was not in the favor of the United States of America. So basically, I have an argument over here that the real objective is not really a bigger, better deal, but the real objective is to put the immense pressure on the Iran to weaken the regime. Like, we have seen the injected chaos in Iran. We have seen that how the protests were being crafted back in 4 months before. Like, why the protests were being? Because they were against the clergy. They were against the theocratic state over there. They were against the main clergy who was ruling Iran. So let me tell you that no hidden objectives of certain members of administration is a regime change. For me, the White House will aim to roll back Iran's influence in the region through this new maximum pressure campaign. But people close to the administration says that the end goal of the new plan seems to vary depending on who is doing the talking, like who is pulling the strings. So Mike Pompeo will give the address and we'll get to know that what's the main agenda of the plan B. And according to that, let me tell you that officials such as the National Security Advisor John Bolton would be very happy to see a pressure campaign and a regime change, while on the other hand, the Pompeo belongs to a camp that has felt that it might be too soon for Assad to do that thing. Now let me tell you what they hope for this whole this whole fiasco, that what is a pressure campaign could force. Well, the pressure campaign could force Iran to pull back from the regional activities in Syria, Yemen and elsewhere to focus on the domestic stability. I really doubt about that, because Iran has spent a lot of money on its nuclear program, and these pressures will just halt the Iranian nuclear program just for a while. But if you think that it will back out from the nuclear program and it will back out from the whole regional rivalry, you will living in a very, very big dream. Now coming back to the Pompeo, he fleshed out the administration's visions for Iran almost 2 weeks after the President Donald Trump pulled the US out of the Joint Comprehension Plan of Agreement, as the deal is formally known as reimposed sanctions that had been lifted under the pact, and announced new ones against Iran's central bank. Let me tell you that I emphasize on the point that the role those sanctions will play in pushing Iran back to the table, it will not work. But by reimposing the sanctions that were lifted under the JCPOA, that will bring economic pressure to bears on Iran, and Iran can bear that. We have seen that Iran has bear that plan long ago in the Khomeini period, in the Ahmadinejad period. So it was all the economic pressure that brought the Iranians to the table for a few years ago, but it was in the vital interest of the Iran to go with the economic deal. But we have seen that Iran is the nation, we have seen that they have sustained the pressure. They have sustained the pressure for the decades. And now, if the United States of America is going for the plan B and they're thinking that they're going to pursue them, if they're thinking that they're going to push the Iranians to the maximum extent, they're going to backdrop from the Iran nuclear deal, they are again, they're just fooling themselves. Now let me tell you that the decision to pull out the deal along with the Trump's administration approach to Europe is another dimension to discuss. It means that sanction might not be as effective as time, making it all the harder to realize the goal of a broader deal. So a maximum pressure campaign requires a unified coalition, but I argue over here that the Russia and China are not particularly inclined to help out with the second Iran nuclear deal. They are of the view that they were very happy, they were quite very happy with the previous Iran nuclear deal. And now they have voiced their displeasure at the US decision to leave the original agreement, because in the international arena it's against the norms, because you are committing to your administration, the Barack Obama's administration is committing to the nuclear deal. And when the regime has been changed, the Trump get in, he actually back off from the deal. It's against the international norms. And Trump's rejections of the JCPOA has left the close allies in Europe angry and alienated, particularly as he has told them that the United States will sanction their companies should they continue to honor contracts with Iranian business. I wonder and I doubt. Now let me tell you about the European countries. That declaration has deepened European uneasiness about the administration's commitment to the transatlantic relationship, because let me tell you that Trump has already backed off from the trans-Pacific relationship, that the TTP, the fundamental trade relationship, particularly as Trump is already threatening tariffs against now the new European industries, and the decision is due on the June 1. And it has created resentments due to a perception of the US bullying, as Trump administration officials explain that when faced with the prospect of the US sanctions, Europe will buckle under the shoes and the US will go over the small agreements with the Iran. Now, I assume that the new sanctions would be as crippling as those put in the place in 2012 when the Obama administration was working on the Iran deal, in part because other countries strongly opposed Trump's decision to abrogate the deal. But now, the other countries will defy or ignore sanctions and look for the workarounds. Indeed, European leaders have already said that they are working on enacting a status that protects the European companies that continue to do business with Iran. Now let me tell you that they are also looking at having a European investment bank which will provide a funding stream for the Iran central bank. Like they are in the liaison, the Europeans and the Iranians, they are merging, they have the convergence of interest, but the United States of America is just bullying the Iran, which will eventually hurt its traditional ally, which is Europe. So it's very hard to overstate how angry and resentful the Europeans are. People are overstating that the disagreements between the US and Europe. People are saying that we agree with the Europeans on much more that we are disagree on. Now I ask that why Iran, Europe, or countries such as North Korea should trust the United States in general on this administration, in particular to a reliable interlocutor, if it is willing to walk away from the established agreements. Now this is totally against, as I've told you, that it is really totally against the international arena, the norms of international arena. If you are a superpower, then it is a binding on you that if you are giving the words, you have to compete on those words. But the United States of America is going against it. So now let's talk about the US administration, the former US administration, the Obama administration officials and foreign diplomats who were involved in the Iran talks. They said that it had been impossibly unwieldy to negotiate a deal that encompassed all the issues and the United States and the Europe with the Iran. Another question now popped in my mind is that why the administration thought it could convince Tehran to engage again. What's the particular side? What's the vision of the Trump, that how he is so certain that he will engage the Iran? Particularly at a time when its official Pompeo Trump, Bolton, and US Ambassador to the United Nations, the Nikki Haley, the famous Nikki Haley, have been exhortating the country's leader. They are bashing it. They are bashing in the United Nations Security Council sessions. So why they think that Iran will come again back to the table and negotiate with the new terms? Now discussing the Iran's dissatisfaction with their regime, like the domestic arena. With a lot of policies of the regime which have not helped the Iranian people, there is an internal unrest in Iran. Yes, I accept that there is some internal unrest in Iran, but partly due to the struggling economy, means that it is an incredibly explosive time in the country right now. But let me tell you that Trump's decision to leave the deal means Iranian people now have an address for their problems, and that people will likely rally along the flag. They'll put the positive impact, they'll put the positive vibes towards their country. Now, overall, if you just don't believe the administration is negotiating in a good faith, particularly as the Bolton is on record that he's speaking a year ago about the Iranian dissident group advocating an overthrow of Iran's government. It is been long for the last year that it was in the pipeline of the United States of America to overthrow the Iran's government. What I am saying, he categorically said that what I am saying is a strategy to drive this towards a major confrontation. But for me as an analyst, I think the Trump administration is putting the pieces into place to have a major confrontation with Iran. Others says that regardless of the administration goals, the chance of miscalculation, especially with the Israel and Saudi Arabia urging Trump to confront Tehran, are very high. We could very easily see ourselves in a military confrontation in the near future. Now that was a statement given by the Brooks administrator John Hook. And let me tell you that now this whole quagmire, it will have the implications either on the South Asia. Now let's say that you has actually started the operation on the Iran. They have the military confrontation. Do you really think that it will not create the chaos in the Middle East? Do you really think that it will not create the chaos in the region? Do you really think it will not create the chaos in the South Asia, because Iran is sharing border with Pakistan? The Iran-Pakistan border is the international border between Iran and Pakistan, demarcating Pakistan's Balochistan province from Iran's Sistan and Balochistan province. It consists of a border barrier which Iran started building as a replacement for an intermediate chartered border fence. And they have built a 3 feet thick and a 10-meter long high concrete wall fortified with steel rods, which spans the 700-kilometer frontier stretching from the Taftan to Mand. But let's say if Iran will be attacked again by the United States of America, it will have the direct implications on Pakistan, because the Shia population in Pakistan is estimated as being 5 to 20% of the country's total population. Pakistan is said to have a Shia population of at least 16 million. But let me quote here the Wali Nasir, who claims that the Shia population to be as high as 30 million. So what will be the domestic outrage in Pakistan? Who have the wildest guess at what will be the impact on the Pakistan? How the Shia population will react in the Pakistan? And if the United States of America, who has a very anti-Semitic rights, anti-Semitic like arguments people are having in the Pakistan against the United States of America, if they invade the holy places in the Iran, there will be an outcry in Pakistan. Now let the whole picture in a bigger perspective. Pakistan is currently having a CPAC, and if Iran will be affected by the war, the repercussions will be faced by Pakistan. They will halt CPAC growth. So the official response from the Pakistan came from the Foreign Office on this back off from the Iran nuclear deal by the Trump administration. The official of Foreign Minister Mohammad Faisal said that we fully support the deal and call upon all the parties to honor their commitments. All countries should trust the competence of the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) to provide assurance regarding the implementation of the deal. Viewers, so in a holistic approach, even Pakistan wants this deal to go smooth in order to avoid the chaotic future. But US is having different plans. And let me tell you that if these plans are very vivid, very vivified, very facious, let me tell you that Iran would have been threatened, if the Iran would have been threatened by all the means, it will go against the military confrontation, and it will go towards the military confrontation. That will have a very negative repercussions in the Middle East, negative repercussions in South Asia. It will tackle all the misuse of the power in the region, but United States of America is again thinking that they will have a plan B, but again their plan B will not work until unless they put again back, they finish all the resentments of the Iran. They will bring back the Iran to the table. If they could not bring the back Iran on the table on their wishes, according to their means, let me tell you that there are the quite chances that they will misuse the power, and that misuse of power will eventually, they lost the European as the traditional allies, and it will create another quagmire which will turn the whole region, the Middle East region, into a very muddling and very faltering position. So that's it for today. We'll see you in next program. Just take care of yourself. Goodbye.